What is your name and the name of your business?
Hi, I'm Kit Rodenbough, and I own Design Archives Vintage and Handmade Emporium on Elm Street.
Is this the only area you have? The only
No,
location
I
you have?
opened a second store in Winston in 2014. I've been here in downtown Greensboro for 20 years. 2020 was going to be a great year for us, our 20th anniversary, and what a better way to roll into the roaring 20s than to be celebrating our 20th anniversary in business.
And it roared all right.
It sure did.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about the business itself and how it operates.
What I do is rent out space to vendors, and I sell my own vintage finds and handmade and souvenir items, but primarily I have about 50 different vendors. They rent their space from me. So not only is this a source of income for me, but for 50 others who are small businesses as well, it gives them an opportunity to supplement their income if they have another job, or for some of them, this may be their full-time method of income.
So what made you choose this as a business as well as being a business owner versus working for someone else?
I had, like I said, been in corporate America as a working in the fashion industry, and that's a tough industry. And there were a lot of changes over my time in the industry. I started in '76 working as a fashion designer, and there were a lot of little factories all over North Carolina, and they all had their own little design studios, and it was great. You could go and work somewhere 2 years and work doing sportswear, and then switch like I did to children's wear, and then I went into menswear, and then I was in the sock industry. Those were all great, but I always knew in the back of my mind I wanted to have my own business. I started laying the groundwork and collecting and thinking about how I would turn that collection of my own into a business. So when the opportunity arose and I lost my last job, I said, that's it. I'll never put my life and my career in somebody else's hands again, and I will do my own business. I will make it work, come hell or high water. Somehow this is going to work. I shifted the plan. Originally I was just going to focus on other designers like me who would need inspiration, and then I quickly realized that I needed to just do retail because there were people out there who loved vintage like me and would like to buy it and wear it or use it in their home decor. So I decided, I was going to open a shop. I had fallen in love with vintage when I was a little girl, digging through my grandmother's scrap baskets of fabrics and making clothes for my Barbie dolls, and it stuck. It stuck with me, and it still does to this day.
Tell me about the day you found out that Design Archives had to close because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Like, tell me about that day and what was going on in your mind
On Saturday, which was the 14th of March, we had a great day. It was a busy day downtown. It was kind of a great weather weekend, and when you have great weather, you have great sales. Everybody's out. They're walking in, they're walking to the bars, they're going from shop to shop, and that's the kind of day it was. We'd been hearing about this pandemic and about how horrible it was, but it hadn't really hit me yet. Thinking about it, that's somewhere away. That's in Europe. That's not in America. It's not going to affect us. So I worked here. Like I said, we had a great day, went to the bar next door, had a few drinks, went home. The next day came back to work, and nobody was out. It was a Sunday, and I can remember the streets were dead, as if it were a bad weather day, and it wasn't. And nobody was out, and the employees started asking me about what precautions were we going to take, and I said, well, let's wash our hands a lot and use hand sanitizer. And the news started coming in pretty heavily that Sunday night, March 15th, about how bad this situation was going to be. And on Monday, all the employees and I got together. We talked through it. We decided no one felt safe in the shop, working with people, having people try on clothing. It was going to be just a little too nerve-wracking to be open, and we would close for the week. Still thinking on Monday the 16th that was just going to be maybe a week-long thing and we'd figure it out. Tuesday, it started to sink in, and I can remember that the rest of that week is kind of a blur, but I was in a panic because each day listening to the news, it started to make me realize that this may be longer than a week, and what in the world was I going to do? And although I had been flexible over the years and changed my business model as needed, this was out of my control. By the end of the week, my guilt started to subside. I started realizing it's not just me. We're all in this together. Everybody who has a business is trying to figure out, what do I do now? And there was a little relief in that, and knowing it wasn't anything that I caused or any of us created. This was something that was totally beyond our realm of possibilities and out of our reach of figuring out a solution.
Oh, how has it affected your business here at Design Archives?
We are going into just about being closed for 2 months now. And the restrictions were lifted for retail yesterday for North Carolina, but I cannot see us opening anytime soon. We're going to need to figure out protocols for dressing rooms. Part of vintage is it needs to be tried on. You don't know. It's not like walking into a Target or a Belk and knowing how sizes run and how things are going to fit. So everything needs to be tried on. There are no protocols in place yet for dressing rooms and how to keep customers safe. I need a lot of people in my store. When we get that group mentality and that momentum of people getting excited over something, whether it's a record or a vintage dress or some quirky ceramic figurine from the 50s. It's fun when you've got your friends here. To think of everybody shopping with social distancing, it doesn't seem like it's going to be as fun. So I have some great concerns about how we are going to get the amount of sales that we are used to having and how we are going to go forward, knowing that we've got to make a lot of changes. And the first thing is I've got to make sure that we're all safe and that my employees are safe.
How about having to pay bills, rent, electricity, and also your employees? Did you have to fire or furlough some people in the process?
As far as our employees go, I had to lay them all off. There are 5 besides me, and these are young people who love the shop and want to work, but there's no work. When there's no customer, there's no job for them. So they have all, I believe just about everyone has gotten unemployment. There's actually still one who cannot get it through the system. So I'm really hoping that something's going to come soon, because I do worry about these employees, and I do hope that they'll come back one day. As far as the other bills, I have paid to keep our lights on. I've worked with our internet and phone provider, and they are great to work with. They actually let us turn off the internet and phone. You pay $3 a month and then just let them know when it needs to come back on. So they were good. The best thing for me is that I have fantastic landlords, and they have worked with me and said, we'll work with you. We'll make it work. We want you here. And I hear that loud and clear, and that's great.
So with everything going on with the COVID and what it's done to your business, having to stop, how about you personally? how have having to lay off workers, having to deal with and manage and everything, how has that affected you personally, emotionally, um, mentally? Um,
Um, this whole pandemic and getting through this has been worrisome to me because I do worry about my employees and how they're faring and how they're surviving. And that's tough because I am at retirement age. I probably don't have the energy left to work like I did 20 years ago, 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. I need my employees. I need them to be healthy. I want them back because they've invested many months here, if not years, for some of them. So I do want them back. So I do worry about them, and I worry about them staying safe. Financially, I have been able to get unemployment. I still have not gotten a stimulus check, but I have had unemployment, thank goodness. I don't know how long that will be a sustainable income for me. So, for myself, I'm kind of thinking one day at a time or 1 week at a time, I guess, kind of from unemployment check to unemployment check. Um, so, I kind of put myself way down on the ladder. In the first week, I will say that I was having anxiety attacks. I was feeling guilt. I was very emotional. Um, it was really tough because I felt incredible guilt. Why had I, as a retailer who'd been around for 20 years, not figured out how to have tons of money saved up for this day? Not ever thinking this day would come, but I couldn't understand, and why hadn't I saved, and why hadn't I been able to save enough money to get me through 2 or 3 months? And of course, reality is that's just not realistic in this day and age.
and plus, no one saw this coming.
No one saw this coming. So when this hit, every day was a new day of being emotional about something different and a new worry that I had. I am blessed to have a father who's 88 and very intelligent. And he really did talk to me. He's been through was born during the Depression and went through all the ups and downs of the decades since the Depression, and has a lot of business experience. So it was great to have him to talk to, and being close to him, I felt like I could cry and I could tell him my fears through all this and my guilt and why didn't I do this and why didn't I do that. And it's still a little emotional. There are times that I can get down about it. And there are times that I really do have a fear because I also know at 64 I'm not going to get another job. So I have reinvented myself in the past, and I decided early on when I opened I was going to do this come hell or high water. So I have got to make my business work and continue until I'm 70, until I can fully retire, I guess.
Like, how have you actually adjusted to this? How have you adapted? How you've adjusted? And for the business that you are doing now, the little bit of business that you're doing during the store closing,
Right.
How have you still been able to operate?
Thank goodness for social media. If this was the year 2000, we might as well close up because there was no other way to sell. I can remember when 9/11 happened, nobody shopped for the next month. People were terrified. They didn't want to come out, and shop. And this is similar to that in feel. Nobody wants to come out and shop, but thank goodness they're looking on our social media. They're following us on Instagram and Facebook, and we can post things there. And then if somebody wants to buy something, they can Venmo or PayPal. And then we do curbside pickup. I did some of that this morning. So there are those avenues to bring in a little extra money. Of course, it's nowhere near the amount that we need to operate as we used to.
With that said, with the reopening, because here in North Carolina, we're going to go through different phases and what have you. Do you already have a plan set out, or is it going to be on the fly as you recover, like a plan of recovery to get um, Design Archives running as normal as it possibly can?
Um, I sort of have a plan. One of my plans is this week to work out my 2-year plan for this store. I've done that for my other store, which is in Winston. And now I'm going to look at this store and take a good hard look at the numbers and how can we make this sustainable for the next 2 years. And tentatively, I'm thinking that we'll reopen first Friday of June, which is June 5th. That will give us time to see the cause and effects of the opening of the other retailers and the other businesses, and if there's any fallout or any spike in the illnesses over the next few weeks, and get a handle on how I feel and how comfortable I am, as well as employees are, with working in the store again and working with customers coming in. We will ask that everyone wear a mask. We will try to enforce the 6-foot social distancing guidelines. We will spray and wipe down constantly. And that's, it's going to be different. But I envision doing that. We'll get a feel for the market, I suppose, in June. And then if it's okay in June, we'll go to July. And then if it's okay in July, we'll go to August. And we'll just keep going.
Do you have any advice to give to anyone who's kind of looking for answers, who's lost their way, or who's just starting and has run into this and have no means of getting advice from, say, people close to them?
I do, and first of all, I would say it's going to be hard to sustain your business if it's not something you're passionate about. If you've opened an aquarium shop, but you really love soccer, you're not going to be able to sustain that aquarium shop through times like this. You might as well hang it up and figure out something else. If you have a passion for something like I do with vintage clothing, you're going to keep trying to figure out how to make it work, and that's going to get you ahead or keep you going for the long haul. Now, that being said, if you have that passion and you have a fairly new business, or even a long-standing business, you cannot look at what's going on as something that's going to change overnight. You have got to figure out a new business plan, a long-term business plan to get you through the next year to 2 years, and renegotiate everything. You've got to figure out, look at your numbers, run your numbers. I'm thinking our numbers are going to be 40% down from what they were last year. And that is a big chunk of change. And I think that's more realistic than people going, oh, great, I got, for instance, the PPP grant. I got, $5,000. That's great. That'll pay my rent for the next 2 months. So what's going to happen that third month and that fourth month? Because things are not going to change overnight.
Do you have any closing statements to anyone who's listening right now about just anything? Anything you want to say to the audience that's watching right now?
I would say to everybody that you've got to take care of yourself first. You've got to, right now, until a vaccine is created, you've got to take care of your health, because that's the best thing you've got. You've got to stay safe. You've got to take precautions. And then secondly, shop local where you can. We are a fun, non-essential business here. We're the fun stuff. We're the unique stuff. We're the entertainment. And you're still going to need that in your life. So as we get more proactive online and on social media, and everybody should do what you can to support a small business. where you can. Take care of yourself and your essential needs, but when you've got some extra money, support small businesses because they are your neighbors and your friends, and they've put their heart and soul into their businesses, and they're doing everything they can to figure out what to do to go forward. So we would all appreciate any help we can get.